Let's do this.
This is how I work.
This is no democracy. It is a dictatorship.
Hate, 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 hate. Double hate, double hate.
Everything that guy just says is bullshit. Thank you.
Life is cruel.
I don't give a what the deal was. The deal is now changed. Either you stay or you go. It's up to you. End of discussion.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Multiplex. Your list sucks. We got another episode in top 40 animated films. We're going through numbers 30 to 21 on our list this week. Should be interesting. Things got a little out of hand last time, so let's see how far off the rails we can get this time. We will start with Paul. Paul, you won last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Do you think you can keep that train going?
If you thought last week was out of control, I hesitate to wonder what will happen in the coming weeks. No, I'm excited. I think that my chances are going to be a little lower because I think once you get to the top of the list, it's going to be the cream of the crop for everyone. So it's going to be those little margins of who just picks the right movies. For Boatman, I don't anticipate too much, shenanigans from the people this week, but maybe Mark will continue to surprise me with these random movies that I forgot existed. I know I'm stoked though. It's, I love being on the show Top 40 Animated. I was so stoked for this, and I can't wait to continue on to movies I like even more than the ones we talked about last week.
Yeah, absolutely. Chance, I believe you lost last week. You think you will keep that streak going?
I believe he says that's the guy who decided it.
I don't remember what happened.
I don't consider that I don't consider that a loss. I consider that a loss for the time being. Could make it up in the end.
Well, yeah, but for the week.
For the week, I did lose because some bullshit bias judging. I get it. It's fine. Whatever. But it's those are just ones I want to just get on because look, I just wanted to shout out movies that I liked more than most people, and this one I thought it was going to be a little bit more of the same, but I think I got some choices that I find to be a bit better. Of course, they're a bit higher on my list, but yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. Now, Mark, I don't remember if you were second or third. I think you were third. Yeah, you were third last week. Will you move up in the rankings, or are you going to move down in the rankings, or do you think you're going to say about where you were?
To be honest, I don't know, because I was certain I was going to lose last week, and I didn't. So anything could happen. I think I have more classically more liked movies this week, and I think that could continue, or maybe not. I don't know, because people here have weird taste. But
that's fair. No, that's completely fair. I will say last week probably helped I didn't watch one of your movies. That probably kept you a little above water.
Yeah, if you would watch Tower and not watch Tower and Transformers, it might be a different story last week.
maybe. I will say I watched everything on Mark's list this week. We'll see. And Nazario, I'm not even going to ask what you think, because I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen with your list. Even you. I think at the end of the day, you're the most unpredictable person here.
More unpredictable than Reese's?
Yeah,
Reese's is predictable. It's every day after the period.
Unless you got the tension, then it's not
DJ's always going to say the swamps. Randall's always.
I think I have good movies. So 5 or 6.
Sure. So we will get started. As always, we'll go the bottom 3. All around then. We'll go 27 to 24. Yeah, 27 to 24, and then top 23, 22, 21. So we'll start with Paul. Paul, what is your 30 through 20?
I'm going to just say now, I bet I'll only be able to talk about one of these at the most. My number 30 is The Emperor's New Groove. My number 29 is Finding Nemo.
Yikes. For later.
Yeah, it's a
later
yikes
episode.
to okay.
And my number 28, Nazaro, get ready to say it again, is My Neighbor Totoro, spelled horribly. So, so The Emperor's New Groove. This is absolutely one of my favorite Disney movies. I love how Looney Tunes this movie is, and how the physical humor and the sort of kind of breakneck speed of the humor. This time around, one of my favorite jokes that I totally forgot about is when Yzma goes to pull something out from beneath her dress, and she pulls out a knife, and you see the look of relief on Cusco and Pacha's face, that like they're like, thank God it wasn't something else. A lot of this humor is very much, I think, geared at older people. By the way, there's a fascinating oral history about this movie. If you read, written by Bill Gabiri, that's really fascinating about how it was made and the craziness of all that stuff. But it's just, to me, it's a great buddy movie. It's really quick and brisk, and I just love, like the humor is the main thing that drives this forward for me. I think Kuzco's a hilarious character, and him set opposite Pacha, and obviously Kronk, who I think is one of the great side characters in any movie, animated or not. I think he's absolutely hilarious. Like, everything he does is just terrific. And Yzma's a great villain, top to bottom. Just a terrific movie that I'd love to go back to pretty often. Yeah, one of my favorites for sure.
I am not surprised, but I'm a little disappointed this is as far as The Emperor's New Groove goes. This is one of my top 5 favorite Disney movies. I think the Looney Tunes descriptor is absolutely correct. That this feels like I love Disney, but this feels like maybe their funniest movie. Just the slapstick and the timing. I love the scene where they are basically they want Cusco and Pacha to escape, and the kids prank Yzma and basically make her the piñata. Just the pure timing in the comedy. Yeah. So funny. I love so many little moments in this. It's Disney making a buddy comedy, and that feels so refreshing. This is absolutely like all-time favorite Disney movie. Everyone else, what's wrong with you?
Oh, do we get to talk, or I thought?
I think he's just asking what's wrong with you in general. I will just say,
my list.
The scene of Cusco dressed up as a woman in the restaurant walked, so the Scooby-Doo scene of Scooby-Doo on the airplane could run, is all I have to say about that.
Okay, so now we'll go to as I try to remember how this show works.
Wait, is Totoro still yikes? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totoro and
Got it. Okay.
You're 30.
All right, my number 30 is The Secret of Kells. My number 29 is Kung Fu Panda 2. And my number 28 is Shrek 2.
It's my 28, so.
Okay.
All right, so you can both talk about it now.
Wow.
We'll start with Chance.
So we're talking about Shrek 2 first, or?
No. Yeah, we'll start with
Secret of Kells. Okay, so yeah, when I was making this, I knew I wanted to shout out Tom Moore. I think he's a fascinating animated filmmaker, and just personally, Secret of Kells is my favorite movie he's done. Most because I've had the benefit of time. I've seen this movie the most of his films. This is the first of his Irish folklore trilogy, basically to tell the story of a boy who he lives in a town that's about to get sacked by Vikings, and around that time there is this other monk who came from another village that was sacked, learns this book, and just trying to help him put together and learn that maybe this is something he wants to do. Gets him out of this town into the world of adventure. He meets this girl in the woods, Aisling or Ashley, depending on how you hear it. I thought it was Ashley for the longest time, but that's Aisling. But yeah, she meets her in the woods, kind of shows him what's what. This one really caught me by surprise when I watched in 2009, because of how I'd never seen an anime quite like this. With kind of like the hand-painted drawing type of animation. I thought that was really great. I love the way that it blends different styles of animation, whether it's that there's a sequence where you're like fighting this evil entity where like they're animated in different style. One feels more hand-drawn, one feels a little more CG, a little more fluid. It blends together phenomenally. I think the story is great. The main kid, Brenton, I think he's a great protagonist. You're constantly with him on this journey. The relationship between him and Aisling, even though they're not very many scenes together, mostly because this one's very short. It's not very long. It's not even 80 minutes. But I think the scenes with them are great. And I honestly do have a connection to this story because I've actually been to the Abbey of Kells. I've seen the actual Book of Kells on display at Trinity College in Dublin. So it's some stuff that I actually have some connection to, and to see it play out on big screen, this kind of artistry, I really dug it. I think Tom Moore is a great filmmaker. Both this Song of the Sea and Wolfwalkers, great set of animated films. Wolfwalkers is really close for my favorite as of right now. It's Secret of Kells. Going to Kung Fu Panda 2, this is personally one of my favorite DreamWorks movies. I think it's the best of all the Kung Fu Panda movies. And it's one that, a couple things. First of which, I think that I like the fact that they let Poe still be a proficient martial artist. Usually in sequels, they used to try nerf the protagonist, make him weaker somehow. But no, they keep that. But they also add a lot of dimension to this character. His whole lineage is a big part of this movie. And I like what the movie had to say about pain, not ignoring the past, but taking it in, accepting it, and letting it roll. I think that addition to Gary Oldman as Lord Shen is great. I love Michelle Yeoh being added to the cast. I think that the fight choreography, if you will, I think it's some of the best fighting in the series. It's hard to pinpoint what I like more between that and the end fight between him and Tai Lung from the first, but I do think that I think it moves at a brisk pace. I love the score of it. I love the artistry of it. I think this is a fantastic, fantastic film. And Shrek 2. I think that the first Shrek is really solid. I just watched it recently again. I think it still holds up. Shrek 2, in my opinion, is still the better film. In that, I think that it's enabled them to write I think this one's bottom line. It's funnier. I love the aspect of going to Kingdom Far, Far Away. I think that they play a lot with the jokes, fairy tale jokes. The addition of Puss in Boots is great. I also think that I don't think Shrek and Fiona's relationship is any better than it is in this movie. Just because you really just see the lengths they're willing to go for each other, especially at the end when, spoiler alert, but come on, you've already seen this movie. When Shrek has the option to just give up his lifestyle, it's hey, you know what, I will stay human for you if that's what you want. But they decided to just stay how they are. I think that's an incredibly powerful thing. As a big fan, Absolutely Fabulous, I love hearing Jennifer Saunders as the villain. I think she's hilarious. And I need say nothing about the holding out for a hero scene. It's cemented its place in pop culture.
Yeah, Mark.
I agree with a lot of what Chance said about Shrek 2. I think for me, kind of going back to this one, because I remember watching both and loving both as a kid. And honestly, I think the Shrek franchise as a whole is still okay, for the exception of the third one. This one I think is probably their most fun movie. It's definitely the one I think where they're going faster with the jokes, even though I think it's one where I think they're aiming down, at least down in age a little bit more with this one. I think it's all still pretty solid. They get in kind of still a lot of neat even weird adult humor, when they the night scene where they catch him there and then they catch a stupid puss with the catnip.
That cop with a knight with the knee on the donkey. That's something to watch now.
But yeah, that movie is just a ton of fun. It's hard for me not to go back and just kind of it just at least enjoying the nostalgia of it all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll start. I didn't have time to watch Secret of Kells, but I gave Kung Fu Panda 2 a read.
Okay.
Because it had been a while since I had seen this one. I don't think I actually seen this since theater. And I've heard that everyone there are people who think this is better than the first one. I think this one is fine. I really don't get the insane love for this one. The one thing I will give you over the first one, the villain. Lord Shen is great. I think that Gary Oldman is phenomenal. And I think there's a lot of great stuff with him. But overall, this film, I kind of disagree with you in that I feel like they kind of toned down the fact that Poe is a kung fu master now. They the Furious Five wants to leave him beside. They don't want to take him on.
But it's not because he's bad at kung fu now, which is what I'm saying. It's all the where
they don't think he can really handle himself.
Well,
That's
because
no
he's
reason-
emotionally compromised, not because he can't fight. Like the brother can fight. The brother can fight.
Not
Man, it's like,
Boatman thinks he can kick Poe's ass, is what he's saying. That's what
no.
I think he's using the Carmelo Anthony argument.
Yes, Bowman's classic tactic.
Yes.
The guy from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
I knew that's where you'd recognize him from.
Anyway, and Shrek 2, I will agree with Bar, which I hate to do, but Shrek 2 ends here. That disappoints me.
it's Shrek
Yeah.
2.
Shrek 2 is here. That's all I have to say about that.
I mean, it's here. Like
It's one of the funniest animated movies ever made. I think legitimately there are so many great little moments. We don't even have dental. I love so many little quips in this movie. The opening montage to the great Counting Crows song, absolutely love, amazing. I think the comedy just hits so much harder than the first Shrek. I like the first Shrek. I don't love the first Shrek film. I think Shrek 2 improves on the dynamic so much. I like Fiona a lot more in Shrek 2 than I do in Shrek 1. So yeah. Now we will go over to Mark. We already know what your 28 is, but give us your 30 and 29.
All right. I think, let's see, we got, my 30 is Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Anybody got that?
damn.
No,
Nice.
I respect it.
Yeah.
And
me
my
too.
number 29, which I gotta admit, I kind of wish I had a little bit lower just so people get to talk about it. My number 29 is The Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Yikes. For later.
Is it yikes?
Oh,
cool.
wow.
Fucking awesome.
Nice.
So,
Man,
that's
chance.
Mr. Peabody.
Mr. Peabody and Sherman. I gotta be honest, this one kind of goes because whenever I saw kind of cleaned up my list of DreamWorks movies to watch like a year or two ago, like I feel like a line that I think works for a lot of these DreamWorks movies is they are like a bunch of them are like movies that you think you hate. And I feel like Mr. Peabody and Sherman really lands in it, especially in this category. It's a movie that you think you're going to hate. But I feel like where this one lands, I think where a bunch of those kind of weird DreamWorks movies land, it has an insane amount of heart. And I love how in Mr. Peabody and Sherman, they really turn into the skid that we know this is a weird story where like this kid's traveling through time with his dog companion, but we're just going to outright say, no, this dog companion is Sherman's dad. He's his dad. He adopted him. He's his full-blown parent. And they totally turn into that. And they totally turn into having this really touching kind of heartfelt, like, dad and son story. And I feel like the movie hits on those tones way more than you think it's going to do. And, I got to be honest, I was watching it and, I'm shocked, at how well they're handling this just because it's freaking Mr. Peabody and Sherman. This could have easily been a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie where they just we're just going to cash in on some IP. But man, the fucking DreamWorks writers show up to play whenever they came in this one. They delivered this really surprisingly heartfelt dad and son story. And I'm I have it at 30 right now. I could see it going higher as I get older just because I'm just kind of blown away just by how seriously they took this movie.
Mr. Peabody and Sherman is an incredibly lame movie. It is an incredibly dorky, lame, little bit cringe, and I love it.
From Boatman, I was going to say.
I love it. It is unabashedly nerdy. That is what this movie is. This movie doesn't care that, well, it cares. It knows that it is nerdy and a little bit lame. But it doesn't matter because it warms you in and it charms you. And I'm lame. I'll own it. And this movie worked for me so much. I love I love all of Mr. Peabody's puns. I'm not ashamed to admit it. All the really lame wordplay jokes in this work for me so much. There's a lot of fun history nerd humor. This movie is just such a smart, fun time. I really just had such a good time with this movie. Yeah, I hadn't watched it. I didn't see it in theaters because I was 14 and thought it was too good for DreamWorks movies at that time. Even though I did actually, no, I didn't even see How to Train Your Dragon 2 in the theater. So yeah, I did think I was too good for DreamWorks movies at the time. 14-year-old Boatman was a little piece of shit. But
as opposed to,
I mean, you know, but no, like this was great. It was fantastic. Super fun. Great pick. And now you will go to Nazario. You're 30 through 28.
Did he talk about his 29?
They got yikes.
he got yikes.
Oh, okay. Number 30. I picked Richard Linklater's Waking Life. For 29, I have Rintaro's Metropolis. And my 28 is Disney's Tarzan. Okay, get to talk a lot. Nice. Waking Life. If I had made this list when I was 25 years old, probably would be in my top 10. But yeah, it plays different as much as you keep growing up. I guess some of the dreamer part of me started to die a little bit during the 30s, but the movie still works. I actually was very split between putting this or A Scanner Darkly in this list. They are very similarly animated ones. Scanner Darkly is more of a standard sci-fi movie. It has more of a structure. This is just philosophical thoughts, thrown about dreams and life at random for like 2 hours, an hour 45 minutes. They just basically film people having discussions about life, about dreams, about imagination, about the reason of existence. Some deep stuff, some not so deep stuff. And then they decided to rotoscope animation over it and add some flair with some very surreal images. The movie is very, very good. If you watch it for the first time and you're used to a more structured way to watch cinema, you probably need to like take a bit with it and let it come over you and so you can really enjoy it. One of my favorite scenes has basically no message at all. The guy's talking to another guy in the bar, and then he just pulls out a gun and says, "Hey, I haven't shot this gun in a long time. Maybe it doesn't work." And the other guy's like, "Well, shoot it. Let's see." He gets shot. Then the guy who gets shot pulls another gun and shoots him back. And that's it. That's the scene.
I'm pretty sure that would later be turned into a SNL sketch, and then would also later be turned into an even better video store sketch.
What you say?
Yeah. Metropolis is great. It's full anime style in the classic Astro Boy series design. And basically, Rintaro did not watch the Fritz Lang's Metropolis. He just saw the picture and said, that looks cool, and decided to make a new story around it. And it's actually more interesting than people give it credit for. They make a whole society where robots are integrated in daily life, like where the robots should live, where the robots shouldn't live. Some levels of society are just for humans, and special robots that have different accesses. And then analyzes when a brilliant scientist who's insanely creative, but is also very low on morals, decides to make the best robot ever made in the basis of his daughter who died. Well, in the basis of the daughter of the person who rules the city who died, and how integrating this element of lifelikeness changes everybody's point of view on what a synthetic life and a real life is. It's a very interesting way to explore this sci-fi trope that other movies have made, but this is the best one in animation that I can think of, and if you give it a chance, you'll probably enjoy it. And my 28 is Tarzan. I love Tarzan. I know people like a lot of other 90s movies more than this, but this is probably my number 3 or 4 of the 90s at all. Like, it's not better than Beauty and the Beast or Hunchback of Notre Dame, but it's better than a lot of other stuff that people give way much to credit for, like Hercules. Tarzan is great. The animation is beautiful. The music by Phil Collins that basically narrates the whole story, and it's a great soundtrack. People give it a lot of shit, but it's beautiful music. And dude, the way it animates the water, the way it animates the Sabor when he attacks the family, the way it doesn't shy away from what the tale has to include, which is the murder of his parents, and yeah, even the way it deals with its villain in the end, which has become a popular way of saying like, hey, maybe that's the way you should, be definitive about the ending of a villain in a Disney film without being too graphic. People give it too much shit. I am not a Tarzan fan. I do not love Tarzan movies in general. I do love this one.
All right. So you're 30. Waking Life. Maybe this is just a movie I need to give another watch. I watched it last night. And I don't know what it was. I thought I was really gonna like it because I like Linklater a lot. But I don't know. There was just something about. I think it's a lot of these more segmented movies. I think just I get invested into one segment, and then the next segment will sometimes lose me. And I think that.
Ethan Hawke?
What?
Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke?
No, that one was great. That one was great. I like that one. I like that one. It made me want to rewatch the Before trilogy because it's been a while. Maybe we wanted to go do that. But like overall, I felt like the movie didn't quite come together as a whole for me. Metropolis, I did not watch it. And it's not that I didn't watch it because I was lazy. I have a very uncomfortable connection with this movie. This was my ex-girlfriend's favorite movie.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. There.
This was like her favorite movie.
I was waiting for this drop. Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no. Sorry, Nazario, but I'm not doing that.
I'm dead.
I haven't rewatched Cars 3 since 2017. I'm trying to prepare myself for that.
Oh God.
Okay.
Tarzan. Tarzan. I like Tarzan. Do people have a problem with it? Do I love Tarzan? No. Do I have a good time with Tarzan? Yeah, I actually really think I like the two leads. I think that Jane, they make Jane like not too like Tweety, but still like you see the disconnect there. But I do really like her as a character, and I think Minnie Driver plays very well. And I think they do make you really care about Tarzan, which Tarzan is not a character I typically care about. I typically don't care about Tarzan, but I think they really do, which is great for a character who doesn't really speak all that much. I don't love the side characters, the humans or the animals. Though,
like Turk and Tantor?
Not really. I don't mind Tantor. I don't mind Tantor because Wayne is awesome. But Rosie O'Donnell is fine.
Rosie O'Donnell is fine. Quote it. Boatman, 2021.
That will get stuck in your head all day.
Not for good reasons.
I like the soundtrack. Is it different? Yes. Is it like
No.
Did it Highway rob Amy Mann of an Oscar? Yes.
Would I maybe have preferred like a traditional Disney musical? Sure. But I like Phil Collins. I'm sorry. I like Phil Collins. I like this music. You tell me, when Son of Man comes on or Strangers Like Me, even Chance, you got to tell me you at least sing along a little bit. Come on.
No.
Imagine him whispering quietly. He's like he doesn't want to say it out loud.
I don't want to say it out
loud. My heart very overrated. Yes, I will concede that. Those two songs slap. So yeah. Now people actually get to talk. So we will go to Paul. You're 27.
Yeah, my StreamYard name would have been a spoiler for this pick. It is a yikes from earlier. My number 27 is The Mitchells versus the Machines. So yeah, this is obviously a new movie from this year. But this movie really did hit me in such a specifically personal way. I think when you have a character that's like this too, that's like a film nerd kid who's like trying to connect with their family, but like their passions, like that really does hit in a pretty profound way. I even went on Scott Harvey's podcast to talk about this for like an hour. But I really did adore this movie. I think like it just has such a strong emotional core when you have the relationship between Katie and her father. And I think, never have I cried at a wooden moose before, but here we are in the year of our Lord 2021, and here I am speaking my truth. I think a lot of people talk about the animation of this movie. I think the animation is good, but I think it's all about the themes and the central message and the characters that are really like closely defined, I think, by their actions and by what they do and what they don't do and the way they come together in times of conflict. I think the Eric Andre character is also hilarious. Like that version of like a tech bro is like a very funny spin on it. And I think like the John Legend, Chrissy Teigen thing is also very funny in a meta sort of way. But I think this movie just has so many different levels that really hit for me. And I just honestly, it strikes such a chord emotionally. And I was like a total mess, like at multiple points throughout this movie. It just, the humor, I don't think 100% hits me all the time, but I love it enough in terms of its themes and ideas that it doesn't matter too much to me. And it's just, I love the character. And it's one of my favorite closing credit sequences of any movie I can remember. It's so touching to see the real life people that made the movie and their connections to movies and their families and all that stuff. I think that's just so beautifully done. But yeah, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, it really blew me away. I think it's still my favorite movie I've seen in 2021. It's a delightful movie that I'd recommend to anybody. I know Nazario also had it.
Yeah, Nazario also.
I had it at 40, and basically mostly because of the recency factor. The first time I saw it, I gave it 4.5 stars. Second time, I was like, you know what, this is a 5-star movie. Let's just admit that to yourself. And yeah, I think it's one of the more interesting movies that show that disconnect between parent and kid, especially with the modern era where everybody has grown up with these levels of technology involved, and some older people that are not as fluent in tech as they should. And it hit me also as a father, because even though my kid is only 5 years old, I still find myself watching him laughing his ass off at weird shit in YouTube that I do not understand. And I'm like, I am old. And I could actually see that disconnect between the father and the kid, and how sometimes we say things we don't mean just to get what we think we want at the moment, and then we may end up hurting the people we love. And besides all of that meaning, it's just very, very funny. The part with the reprogrammed robots that join them for the rest of the trip, it's just hilarious. The dog thing. Instead of dogs that are pigs, instead of dogs that are big. It's a great joke. And yeah, it's fast paced and it's very entertaining. It never gets a lull where you feel like, maybe they should have skipped this part. It's like on the whole time. And honestly, this movie will probably move up on my list eventually. Just give it a little time. It's still my number 1 in 2021.
Yeah, this is a film I want to rewatch. I loved it first time I saw it. I want to give it more because it's one that can probably go up to 5 stars on second watch. It's movie nerds. When your main character is a film nerd, that's already I'm in. Like that's a great way to sell it. And then I love the dynamic of the family in this. From the mom kind of trying to keep things together. And the great scene at the end where she like breaks through the window and everything is great. But the relationship between the father and daughter is really what makes this movie great. I never realized that I would ever have nostalgia for the song "Live Your Life" by Rihanna and T.I., but here we are. That made me miss that song, which I didn't know was possible. But yeah, Chance, Mark, you both didn't have this film on your list. Why?
For me, it's just a reason thing. I've seen it once. I liked it a lot. It's my number 2 of the year so far. So I like it a lot. For me, it's going to depend on how it holds up on repeat viewings. But yeah, as of right now, I've seen it once. Could do this again like 5 years down the line. Could make my list, but as of right now, it's just It's not I'm not as ingrained with it as you guys clearly are, but I do think it's a great film.
Mark.
Yeah, I am upset because I saw, as Nazaria said, he had his 40 and he got yikes, and I'm like, oh great, an opportunity to watch it, and I forgot. And everybody who I've talked to has really liked this movie, and I'm just upset. Grand opportunity to talk about it, and I forgot to watch it. So
no, but you get to watch it. You get to watch it for the first time and discover it and enjoy it and connect to it. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I feel like it'll line up with your sense of humor from the little I know of it. Yeah.
The first movie to acknowledge the horror of Furbies, by the way, to openly acknowledge.
I forgot. Yikes! That's a scene.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, you're 26.
My number 26 is not the last time this filmmaker will be on my list, but my number 26 is 5 centimeters per second from Makoto Shinkai, director of Your Name. This is a movie that's it's basically told in 3 segments, and it's about this boy's life, 2 times from his childhood and then once of him as an adult. And it's about these kind of fleeting interactions and relationships he has with these two girls that he's friends with as a kid. And it's, I think, so beautifully told in terms of the way when you're a kid and you have that friendship or that relationship or that crush that just is the world to you and that's all that exists, kind of. But then sometimes like circumstances just get in the way and it just becomes difficult. This is, to me, like one of the most emotionally heart-wrenching animated movies out there. It's gorgeously animated. Like, if you know Shinkai's work at all, like every frame is absolutely beautiful. You can actually find it on YouTube like for free. It's like barely over an hour. But this is a movie that really, like, the ending really hits me hard. There is like a sort of montage thing they do near the end that doesn't 100% work for me, but in general, I do find this movie like really hits me in the gut. And it's like a movie that's like about the sort of the way you remember your youth and the connections you have to people that you kind of forget about sometimes, that are really essential friendships to you at the time, but then, they have to move away or you have to move or things just change in your life and it just becomes hard. But it's a beautiful, beautiful movie to me. This kind of is like almost like an text for Your Name. It's really similar. I think they have a lot of similar themes and stuff. But it's a gorgeous, gorgeous movie that is like just heartbreaking. I'd recommend it to almost anybody. Again, like the animation itself is also just incredible. The backgrounds and the paintings and like the textures of the world and stuff is just, it's really striking. And it's a pretty simple, bare bones story, but I really do love it. And yeah, 5 centimeters per second.
I did not get a chance to watch this one. This was the one on Paul's list that I didn't have a chance to see. I wanted to, after you kind of described it, just didn't have time for this one. Has anyone else seen 5 centimeters per second?
Nah.
So I'm saying, if you like Your Name, this I think will definitely appeal to you.
Okay, I'll check
I've
it out.
seen 2 movies by that director, not that one.
Yes.
All right, so my number 25 is Wolfe Children, which is another film from Mamoru Hosoda. This is a film about a woman who, while in college, falls in love with a man who's kind of mysterious. He turns out to be part wolf, and he sort of leaves, and she has to raise these 2 children on her own. And this, again, is another one of those movies that just really hits you in the gut emotionally. It's a story so much about the love that we give to our families and how much that can change us and how difficult it can be to see them grow up, and how, as a parent, like, your relationship to your kids really shifts over the years, and people like really having trouble fitting into the world and to society. Again, like, this is all his movies look, I think, beautifully animated, but I think like the emotional story is kind of why all his movies really work. This is just, again, it's just like a really emotionally resonant movie that's has this mother really connecting with her kids. There's a scene where it's raining really hard, and she has to make sort of a decision between going one of 2 places, and that's like a really difficult. And this movie just makes me cry. I saw this in theaters at like an animation festival a few years ago, and like the director hosted it, was there. And I think this is, he said his at the time was his favorite of his movies, just because of the way it ties into the ideas that he loves about family and his mother, and how it makes him think of his mother and the sacrifices she made. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous movie. And like, it's kind of hard to find, honestly. Like I own it on Blu-ray, but I think besides the physical media, like, I don't think it's really streaming, or I don't even know if you can rent it anywhere. But it's a gorgeous movie that I would recommend to pretty much anybody. It's like, it hits you in the gut. And this is like one that I've never not cried watching. One of my favorite animated movies for sure. Wolfe Children.
Like you said, this was a movie that was difficult to find, and I was able to find a decent way to watch this one which was disappointing because I am starting to kind of come around on this filmmaker. So yeah, and then I went up to Wolfe Children.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Paul.
Guys, it's great. It's great. I'm just saying. Watch it.
No, I mean, I'll buy a copy.
We believe
Yeah,
you.
my number 24 is Batman Under the Red Hood.
Holy shit, that is a yikes.
Wait. Are we allowing direct video?
I had a discussion about that. This is a show. Why would we not? Again, I
Exactly.
said
We'll get to it later.
but it's a yikes for later anyway.
It is a yikes.
I will say, Cody has said that for every other YLS thing, direct to video is not allowed, but for this, it wasn't his problem, so he didn't care.
I wish I knew that.
We can relitigate this later.
I'm glad you didn't, Nazari, because I don't trust you.
Yes. Sorry, Cinderella 3: A Twist in Time could not make your list.
Okay, now we will go to Chance.
This is probably going to be. I'm counting this as being a yikes. This is my 27's Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah, that's a yikes too later.
Yep, I figured.
Yeah. Okay. It's a yikes for
number-
me too, but it's this episode. So.
Yeah. So my number 26 is The Secret of Nim.
Yikes.
I was gonna say this
for-
is
Yeah.
for this or for later.
Mario, wake
gotta
up.
be
Give me a
later.
second.
Gotta be later.
Next
Gotta be
time.
later.
Okay, fine. Moving on. Number 25 is Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Okay. I might get to talk about this one. My number.
Jesus Christ.
I've hit the wrong thing.
24 is Pinocchio.
Yikes.
I'm done.
Well, okay.
Wow,
job.
that is amazing.
Good job.
I'm producing and hosting at the same time. Difficult.
Okay.
Producing
No.
and producing
I'm
at the
not
same
saying good job to you. I'm just saying good job to me. We're picking a bunch of things that I can't talk about yet. So, nailed it again.
Mark, you're 27 to 24.
All right. 27. Let's see what we got here.
Oh, boy.
The Brave Little Toaster.
Oh God.
Mark, I love you.
What, really? Okay, let's go. Brave Little Toaster. You know what? As I'll just say, you'll come to know about me later on. I am a fan of movies of inanimate objects, coming to life and, just doing human shit. And, like the Brave Little Toaster is definitely one of those. It was one that I saw a bunch as a kid. And, kind of like you do when you see a bunch of movies as a kid, you just kind of forget about it. And for whatever weird reason, like I saw it on Netflix when I was 18, about to go to college, and I'm like, you know what? It's been a while. I'm gonna rent Brave Little Toaster, as you do. And went back to it. I gotta say, man, it still charms the freaking pants off me. I saw it last night. It still did it. I don't like this freaking movie about this freaking happy-go-lucky toaster just wanting to find the kid who used him back when in this weird summer cabin. I don't know what it is about it. Like it's just so happy and joyous, and like it's just about these freaking guys that like are taking no quit for an answer, even though like they kind of pretend a bunch of these weird inanimate objects. They pretend that they hate each other, but they really just secretly rely on each other, and they would do anything to kind of help each other in this great adventure. It's kind of, to me, it's like the good version of Homeward Bound, like in that weird way. Like it just, like I don't know what it is about this movie, man. It just every time it freaking gets me, especially when I went back and rewatched it going off to college and like, oh, that's exactly what this kid's doing. He goes back for his old appliances, which is fucking weird. I mean, if my mom offered me like her new lamp, I would have taken the new fucking lamp, and that lamp's staying at the fucking cabin.
Yeah, Nazario will make. I mean, Nazario. I'm tired.
Anyway,
what are we talking about? Brave Little Toaster.
Yeah.
Brave Little Toaster. Yeah. The main thing I remember about the Brave Little Toaster, I had not seen it as a kid, but my main association with it was that apparently this movie scarred a bunch of people as a kid. Like this,
I can understand that.
The clown scene, and that was like my main association with this movie. It's good. It's good. Is it very high? Yes. I think this is a little high, but no, this is charming, right? Probably the best part is the radio. I think radio is probably the best thing in this movie. But yeah, overall, this is a nice, charming little movie. 27, especially considering what you had below it. Like Shrek 2. You're gonna tell me like brave little toaster.
I don't know how listen, Shrek 2 is great. I just like Shrek 2 is a weirdly loved movie in this community, which we'll get to a greater Shrek conversation later, but we'll see that.
Oh no.
Okay. Anyone else thoughts on Brave?
Listen, Boatman, you respect our great American astronaut, the brave little toaster. He didn't go to Mars to be treated this way.
I'm about to say, my brave little toaster goes to Mars.
No, I mean, honestly, Mark has a bunch of movies that would be nice as their number 40, but we got to start reckoning with the fact that he's got these movies pretty high up, nice little movies that are nice little 6 out of 10s. I don't know what's going on here. I think this movie is all right. Again, it's a decent kids animated movie. I definitely think that it does. When I saw it, I didn't see the things that you see in them, which is great for you, I suppose. I will just say maybe if you watch some of the movies on my list, this wouldn't be number 27. But it's all right. It's cool.
Maybe they would still be there.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
I watched this movie when I was 6 years old. I thought it was cute, and I laughed. I've never seen it again.
No, yeah, I mean, this movie is one that I watched it a couple times when I was a kid. Again, Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars was my Brave Little Toaster movie because it was just he's going to Mars. Why would I not watch that 60 times? But yeah, this one's 27. Sure, okay, very very nice to see what's above this. But proceed, Mark.
Well, don't tell him to proceed. I'll tell him to proceed. Proceed, Mark.
You got it, sir. My number 26 is Mulan. Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm a little bit surprised, I'll be honest. Yeah, I mean, I think the way Nazario kind of talked about Tarzan is kind of how I feel about Mulan. It is a movie that I think it's weirdly forgotten, especially kind of in the age it came in. And I feel like its altogether product is just a really solid film. It's so fun. It's where we realize, man, Eddie Murphy is just amazing. It's just an animated character. He is great. If all he has to do is show up in a sound booth for 3 days and just knock out jokes. And you know what? He'll deliver a great character. If that's all he has to do. And it's just the heart of this movie, I think, is so solid of this girl who just feels lost and she doesn't quite know where her purpose is. And she's just kind of out to earn at least some sort of respect and just some sort of of kind of sight for her future. And in all in all, she's just really trying to do a good thing. And in those weird emotional moments kind of near the end, I'm kind of creating a theme here of I like movies where they involve emotional parts with their parents, notably their dads. Those scenes tend to hit me, and the stuff of her and her dad hits pretty well. And even though this movie, I think, to the movie's plus, I think it kind of leans back on the songs a little bit. It's not a full-fledged musical, but the ones it has are really good.
Yeah, I think that Mulan is. I don't want to call it underrated because obviously it's not. It's very beloved, but it doesn't quite get the love that some Disney movies do, and I think that's a shame. Because this 26 is where this stops, which really disappoints me. Because I love Mulan. I think that Mulan is such a great movie on so many different levels, right? Music's fantastic. Oh, Chance is gone. Music's fantastic. Everyone talks about "I'll Make a Man Out of You," which is of course great. I love "Honor to Us All." Honor to Us All rules. I think that's just a great little look into how this world works. I can't talk today. But no, I like these characters. I like Mushu, Eddie Murphy, so much fun. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. Great. This is just such a fun movie. I love all the slapstick involving the soldiers. Particularly Ling. Ling is probably the best character in this movie. But yeah, great. Everyone else, what's wrong with you? What, you don't like Mulan?
Okay, first of all, I will have to say, I think Boatman thinking that Mulan is not beloved speaks to the different social circles that I think we find ourselves in. All the Asian people I know love Mulan. That it's a very beloved movie. I think it's pretty well liked. It was just outside my list. I mean, Boatman can tell you. I think I even sent this is just outside the number 40 on my list. I mean, it's one of my favorite Disney movies for sure. I just think I don't know. I guess other movies just were fresher on my mind, and I had rewatched more recently. But I do love, especially the music, and I think the character stuff in this. For one of my literature classes in college, I read the original stories and the poems that this is based on, and it's kind of interesting how the interpretation shifts, obviously, under the Disney lens. But I do think this one holds its themes more central than I think a lot of those Disney sort of old folklore adaptations do. And I do think great. I think that again, the music's great. I think the characters are really fun. It's one of my favorite Disney movies. Absolutely. Just kind of missed by a little bit. Boatman's definitely the guy, and I'll make him out of you who feels like a fool for skipping gym. I feel like that's he identifies with. Yes.
Yeah, I have nothing especially bad to say about Mulan. I think that I love the protagonist. I think she's a well-written character. I think that Mulan gives a good performance. Shang is great representation for LGBTQ characters. I love Mushu. He's awesome. I think that I actually have a really good fondness for I'll Make a Man Out of You, despite the fact that Donny Osmond's involved. I don't think the animation is really good. I love the aesthetic of it, but I just missed out on my list, and like I said, I have plenty of Disney to talk about later, so I wanted to limit it, include some other stuff. But no, this is a good movie.
Disney did them wrong with the live action on this one. The animated one is great.
I haven't seen
it either.
I love the director and this movie, so that tells you a lot about the perception of it.
There's a really great movie called North Country more people should see.
All her other movies are great, but yeah.
This movie is really good. I also have it high on my Disney ranking. I just basically have 40 movies that I like better, and I have nothing wrong to say about it. Mushu is way better than Donkey for once. This movie is way better than Hercules for seconds. Let's move on.
Okay.
Unnecessary.
True. A little necessary.
Okay, I'm pretty sure the 25 is still a punt. The Grave of the Fireflies.
That's a yikes again. Yeah.
Don't call it a punt.
That's right.
Don't bring that in here.
I forgot what show I'm on. All right, we're all working with it. Okay?
Anyway,
I'm losing my mind. Okay, 24. Finding Nemo.
That's still a yikes for later.
Okay.
Samson's about to call it a punt. You're 23.
He's supposed to call you a word that rhymes with it. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, wouldn't it?
Nazario's turn.
Yeah. No, Nazario goes.
Oh, yeah.
What show are we on?
Well, since I wasn't aware of this special rule you guys decided about accepting animated direct-to-DVD movies, I place here Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah,
that is a massive yikes, yeah.
He was doing a whole thing.
As a general representation of the Batman animated universe. Okay, moving on.
For later.
Number 26. I'm going with Charlie Kaufman's Anomalisa.
Okay, so that's where it stops. Then I had that yikes last time.
That's shocking. This movie's great. It's really simple in its structure. It basically has 3 voice actors, and it follows the mundane life. Wait, am I frozen?
No, you're good.
Okay. It follows the mundane life of a guy who's at a hotel about to give a speech in a conference, and his life, it's so mundane that he cannot even tell the difference between people anymore, be it men, be it women. They all look the same. They all sound the same, like Tom Noonan, but they do. And then he just meets somebody who breaks the monotony, somebody that looks different, that sounds a little different, and his interest becomes piqued. And we follow him through this one night where he rediscovers basically what life should be about and how it develops and it turns into something kind of twisted and sad. It's just the way the beautiful mind of Charlie Kaufman's work. The animation is done by stop animation, and it's insane. Making this movie was probably the stuff of nightmares. I have seen a lot of stop animation movie, and they always look beautiful, especially when it's fantasy scenery, adventure scenery. But this is mundane, everyday stuff, like a wristwatch on the table, a phone in a little corner, a little lamp, a nightlight that turns next to the bed, and it looks so goddamn real. And never really tell where the things stop being photorealistic and animated. It's insanity. And it took me a while to watch this movie. Actually, I bought it as soon as it came out because I was betting on the creator. But yeah, I don't know why. It took me like 2 years to just decide to pick it up and shove that Blu-ray into the player. And damn, I'm like, that's worth my time. It's very inventive in ways you don't expect it to be.
Yeah, Chance, I believe you had this.
Yeah, I have this at 36, and yeah, there are like a certain amount of filmmakers who if they're making an animated movie, I'm like, okay, I got to see that. Charlie Kaufman is one of those dudes because I mean, this was all due respect, he just seemed like a weird dude, and so I want to see what he'd be able to do in an animated format. And yeah, it's basically as crazy and as interesting as you'd expect. David Thewlis was a great performance. The other two voice actors don't want to bring anything up just in case anyone hasn't seen it, but if you haven't seen it, go watch it. But yeah, I think it has a lot to say about breaking out of the ordinary and individualism, and it does that in a way that only Kaufman could in this. And I understand why he tried to make this anime because this is really the best medium for this type of stories. So yeah, and I also wanted to throw this on my list because there aren't a lot of anime movies that are targeted specifically for adults. This is one of those few, and I think that's as a medium I would like to see exploited more, is because I do think that, I mean, I think that the stigma of animated that is for kids, I think that there are a lot of filmmakers who do a lot to try and disprove that. Charlie Kaufman did that. Ralph Bakshi, when he was doing his thing, tried to do that. So yeah, I do think that this is a movie that I wanted to clip my list because I think that it stands for that particular reason. So yeah, this film's great. Like it a whole lot.
Yeah, I will watch Anomalies for the first time this year. And I think this film is excellent, despite the fact that it was co-produced by someone who died in a meth lab explosion. I think that this film is excellent. A little community reference there for you.
Yeah.
I think that this film was super well written. The most uncomfortable breakfast in a movie since Michael Douglas tried to order in Falling Down. It's breakfast. That's the connection. It's breakfast, and it's uncomfortable. But yeah, no. I also don't want to say too much, just because I think this film goes in a lot of interesting directions. I don't love the very end, but other than that, I think the film is great. Paul Nazari or Paul Mark.
Yeah, I'll take movies. I was not expecting to hear "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" by Cyndi Lauper in for 1,000. No, I mean, I like this movie. I saw it for the first time last year as well, which is kind of surprising because obviously it seems so up my alley. I think I really like kind of the anxiety and the neuroses of this movie, but I wasn't able to fully buy into the way it concludes. I mean, not even just the very end, like Boatman said, but for me, the last act doesn't really work for me. I really love the middle portion, especially, but once it kicks into oh, this is what the movie is turning into. I didn't 100% love that stuff, but I think it is beautifully animated, and I think it's again from a great mind. And it's a great translation of this like neurotic, nervy energy that Carly Kaufman has. Like I couldn't imagine what it looked like what it was going to feel like to see it in animated form, but I think it does translate his sensibilities to the medium in an interesting way. It just, for me, it doesn't quite come together in the end, so it missed out just by a little bit, but it is still, I think, a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it.
Fair enough. Now 25.
25. My 25, DreamWorks Chicken Run.
Damn. Okay.
That's right.
Nobody else had that?
Someone else had that one?
I had it. Yikes! I had 35.
Okay. Chicken Run. It's also stop animation, and it's kind of brilliant. It's basically a movie about a war prison camp escape, but with chickens, and how the intrusion of an American POW takes the foundation of the camp. He's a liar. He gives them false hope into a reality that they cannot achieve by themselves. And then he's uncovered, thrown away. These chickens just want to live. These chickens don't want to be turned into pie. The whole thing about animation and stop animation, it just makes everything more tangible and beautiful. And especially in this one, you can see the Artman style just ooze charm by every single pore. Do they look like Wallace and Gromit? Yes, they do, but in chicken form, you know? And the whole sequence,
We have broken
they
chance, I think.
finally decide that they
Yeah,
will indeed fly, even if it's inside of a giant machine. It's beautiful. This is when I still had faith in DreamWorks. The first 4 movies, they were like, okay, this is gonna be great shit.
Ants.
Yeah, oh my
God.
God. Ants will make
I love
me
ants.
okay.
Ants.
I love ants. Damn you.
Ants. All right, Mark, your thoughts on
Ants.
Ants.
I'm not. I'm not gonna follow you down with this ants hole, but I mean, Chicken Run. Yeah, Chicken Run fucks. Like, it's awesome. I didn't know we needed a Great Escape movie, but with chickens. But we did. We really needed that shit. I mean, I love the hell out of Chicken Run. I saw it as a kid. I watched it so much as a kid, and man, the movie's still freaking great. I mean, Mel Gibson, have his problems if you want. He's a freaking treasure in everything he's in. He's amazing in this. He's so great. Maybe not
phone
everything.
calls, especially phone calls.
Everything, especially voicemails.
I mean, I am the beholder. You know what I'm saying.
What happened if Rocky the Chicken was
Oh
drunk?
my God.
But yeah, I mean, Chicken Run is just awesome. It's so freaking funny. I do have a strange liking for these. I know Kirk hates it, like the weird kind of bug eye stop motion kind of look. I really love that clay look, and it's just it really fascinates me just as an animation style. Just the amount of work that is put into that, and it just. And yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Nazar said. Come on, POW Chicken Camp. Come on.
Yeah, POW Chicken Camp. I mean, yeah, this film has direct references to both The Great Escape and Spike 17, which is weird for an animated kids movie. There are direct references in there. We can call Cameron Redstone right now, and he will prove it. But yeah,
I just haven't seen this in a while. If I rewatch it, maybe I'll.
That's fair. No, but there are direct references. I think that this is easily the most patriotic film starring Mel Gibson in this.
I don't know about that.
Screw you, the patriot.
100%. Come on.
Air America, I don't know.
Anyway,
his turn as an astronaut, and Daddy's home too.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, Aardman is a studio that I typically appreciate more than I like. There are very few Aardman movies I really, really enjoy. This is one of the two. I think Chicken Run is really fun. I don't think this movie quite gets going until Rocky shows up. When he shows up, I think the movie gets a lot better. Even though I will admit I'm not big on these liar revealed stories. like it feels like all the 2000s and late 90s kids movies had this kind of trope, and I'm just kind of sick of it at this point in kids movies. But overall, I think that this movie is really, really fun, really well animated. And small tangent, I think more animated stop motion animated movies probably should be nominated for editing Oscars, because like that's really insane.
That's
editing.
a lot of work.
Yeah, that's a lot of work to edit together. So yeah. Anyway, Paul, Chance, you both did not have Chicken Run on your list.
So after Mark said the Great Escape thing, I was thinking the Timothy Spall character really is like James Coburn in the Great Escape. Like it really is an exact like he brings in the contraband. Yeah, that is wild. That is crazy. No, I mean, I really like this movie a lot. I honestly just didn't rewatch it. I didn't have time to rewatch it in anticipation for this list, so I didn't think I could really put it on credibly. There was maybe a chance I might have cracked the bottom of it if I had. I'm not 100% sure. It definitely is one of my favorite kind of DreamWorks movies. And I think it's really fun. I watched this a lot as a kid, especially. This is like one of the first kind of big DVDs that I had as a kid. But yeah, I like this movie a lot. It's just been a while, I think, since I've seen it, so I don't like have that connection. I haven't watched it, I think, since I've really been an adult, like in the last 5 or so years, like since I've graduated high school. So yeah, I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, same thing here. It's been so long since I've seen Chicken Run that I just can't like credibly put it on my list. I remember liking it a lot, and I would love to see if they put in the dialogue Mel Gibson got cut. It's him hitting on all the chickens, just like, hey, that's what up.
Yeah. So next up, Mario, we've got your 24.
Did I mention I like stop animation? Because my 24 is Kubo and the Two Strings. No one. That's rough.
Wow.
Okay. And a lot of people just recently watched this because of Lockdead Tuesdays on Multiplex. This movie is very, very good. It actually, like most of the work by Leica has been doing recently, is really, really good. And I love Paranorman. I had it earlier on my list. This one blew my mind even more than that. It makes a whole story in a very, very simple parable of a kid who is the result of a forbidden love affair between a samurai and the daughter of the moon. And the way it represents, like when he uses I don't even know the name of the instrument. What is the name of the 3-string instrument that he uses? Nobody knows. Perfect.
No.
Shamisen, I think.
The way he uses it, and it magically folds the paper and the origami to tell the stories. It's beautiful. The animation, I don't even know. I think I have to definitely have used some CGI to mix this because it just flows perfectly. And it's a simple story. Like the king of the moon wants the kid because he is the reason that he lost his daughter to the samurai. He already took revenge on the samurai. He basically took revenge on his own daughter, and he just wants to end it by taking the other eye out of Kubo, because that's the thing. He has the one eye because he was injured in the fight between the Moon King and his mother. And the way there are some elements in this that are really haunting, like the other Moon Daughters that are all like voiced by Rooney Mara, and they talk exactly the same, and they are really creepy. And basically then it turns into an adventure movie where he has to find these items that will allow him to be able to fight against the Moon King. He needs the sword Unbreakable, he needs the helmet, I forgot the name, Impenetrable or something, and the armor. And everything has it's almost kind of like a video game structure where everything has to be like a challenge, where he has to improve himself and earn the next thing. Matthew McConaughey too shows up as a bug warrior that is also brilliant. And Charlize Theron, man, that woman has a lot of talent. She has done everything under the sun, and as always, she just shines through. Great movie. Everybody who hasn't seen it, go watch it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Kubo, I watched logged it, like a lot of people. And I think that this movie just looks beautiful. like this is maybe the best looking stop motion animated movie. I don't know if that's controversial or not. I don't think it is. I think this movie just looks astounding, and I do really like the actual thing. I think the story drags a little bit towards the like middle, but I really love the opening stuff. With like the origami paper story, and I do kind of like, even though it's very obvious who two certain characters are. I think that's kind of
stable, man. Relax.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying even though I think that you still appreciate the connection is what I'm saying. Let me talk, Nazario, okay? But no, I think this one was quite good. Chance Mark. Nobody else had really surprised me.
I think I had a bit of a thing against this movie just because, I'm still really frustrated by its decision to cast the actors that it chose instead of casting an Asian cast. It was like right there. I think it was pretty easy to do that. I think it's a really good looking movie, but I do think it kind of fumbles the Buddhist parable that it's using to tell. It kind of, I think, shifts the sort of meaning of it in the latter third in a way that I don't love. And I just think this is probably like the closest thing to like a Legend of Zelda movie I feel like that we've ever gotten. It feels very like Link on a journey kind of thing. I think so, but I think it's pretty good. I just don't love it really. I don't connect with the characters very much. I actually don't think the voice performances are very good. I don't think McConaughey and Charlize are very good in this actually. I think some of the other people are doing a pretty good job, but I don't think those are very convincing vocal performances, at least for me. This is a movie that I think is pretty good. Like Boatman mentioned earlier with Aardman, is more a studio that I appreciate, that I respect and appreciate more than I love really. A lot of their movies I think are impressively made, but for some reason don't connect for me. This is kind of another one of those, but who knows? I haven't seen it in a couple years, so maybe if I watch it now, it'll be different. But last time I watched it, I was just kind of lukewarm on it. Yeah.
This one's good. There's just other movies I prefer over this, like Paranoid, which I liked with Yikes earlier. And I think maybe feel that's just to find out about. But good movie. Just I prefer some other their work.
This movie was a tough fucking cut, man. It was like 45, whatever. It was really close. Slight giveaway because it's my favorite Leica movie. I like this movie so much. And everybody touched on it earlier. It's visually, it's stunning, and it's just. I remember the first time sitting there, and not just wondering how the fuck are they doing this. I was in complete awe, and I gotta disagree completely on Paul about the cast. I think the cast is pretty perfect. I love McConaughey in it. Charlize Theron is really good. Even Rooney Mara as the voice of the sisters.
What do you mean? Even Rooney Mara? Rooney Mara fucking rules. Rooney Mara's the best.
Yeah, she's always great, and she's great in this. It's the cast.
Ray Fiennes. Ray Fiennes is in this too. Yes,
that's who it is. Yeah, Ray Fiennes fucking awesome too. And I love the ending in this movie. The ending is fantastic. A number of animated movies, kind of modern animated movies, have found some really unique ways, especially one that was brought up last week with Moana, have found really unique ways of ending have kind of doing the climate, having a non-violent climax to their movie, which I find really fascinating. This one does it really well. And I love kind of the, how it leaves you with this melancholic end where yes, we've kind of dealt with everything, but it's not, but everything isn't ship shape like it is. I really do like this movie, and it really cut me up to not have it on. It was so close.
Okay. So now we will go to Paul for his 23.
Yes, I know other directors, animation directors exist, but I do not acknowledge them, apparently. My number 23 is another host of the film, The Boy and the Beast. This is a story about a human boy who is wandering through the streets. He's homeless and he's kind of lost, and then he ends up in this world of monsters, and he ends up being mentored by this big beast called Komatetsu, who has this big rival. But he basically takes him under his wing, and they foster this really close relationship. And that's the thing I love most about this movie is the central relationship between the titular boy and the titular beast. And I think the way they grow to appreciate each other and how they are both hard-headed in their own ways, and they're very similar people. So they argue about some things, but then they come together, and even when they come back apart, there's always something tying them together. This is not the last anime movie in which a red rubber band will play a big plot point in the story. But no, I love this movie, and I love the world of the monsters. I love the look of all of that stuff, the different masters they visit. I think the action just looks awesome. And it's just a bright, colorful, exciting world that I love to visit. I like the characters. I like the decision that they make in the end. The choice that Komatetsu, the mentor, the beast, makes, I think, is really cool. And the way that it ties back into this boy and his previous life and how it changes and everything. But I just think that the Boy and the Beast is just such a beautiful story about finding this kind of close relationship when you don't expect it. And I think it's so beautiful and gorgeous. And it's really fun to just revisit. This is a movie I like to come back to a lot just because I think it's really, especially the first half is just really loose and fun and exciting. But yeah, The Boy and the Beast, like just one of my, again, it's a ton of fun. It's a blast. If you haven't seen it, like I definitely recommend it.
This movie makes me want to rewatch Mirai. Or not Mirai, Minari. Wow. No,
Mariah. Yeah. Same director.
Okay, that's a weird connection to
comment on the
Korean thumbing, but sure. Is Will Patton in this movie?
Anyway, let him talk.
Makes me want to rewatch Mirai. Because now I feel like I get Hasada. I think when I watched Mirai, I did not get Hasada at all. Now I feel like I understand him as a director. He's really doing these kind of interesting coming-of-age stories, but through a fantastical element, right? Which I kind of feel like I get it now, and this was the movie that made me appreciate it. I love the dynamic both between the actual boy and the beast, and then when the boy grows up a little bit and his connection to a few characters from the human world. Mm-hmm. I think that really works. I think that this movie, I love the kind of movies where I think magical realism is probably not quite the apt descriptor for this because it's not quite the realism, but it tells a less fantastical story within a fantastical world. And I think that works really well. Makes me want to watch more of Hasada's things. It makes me sad I didn't have a chance to watch Wolfe Children. But overall, excellent film. Has anyone else here seen The Boy Beach?
Nah.
Nope. Gotta watch it, man. It's great.
I watch it, but I haven't seen it.
It's on my Amazon. It's on my Amazon.
I'm already stealing it.
The secret is crime.
So now we'll go to Chance for his 23.
This is my first Aardman shout out. This is one that I like recently more than most people. It's Shaun the Sheep, the movie. I know. So let me just explain. So this is a movie. It's based on the Shaun the Sheep shorts. Basically about the movie itself is about Shaun the Sheep lives on his farm. He falls into the mundane. It's like I'm tired of this shit. Look, all the sheep. We're gonna knock our farmer out, put him in the trailer. We're just gonna have the day off. It's gonna be fine. Only problem is the trailer they put him in gets loose, goes into the city, and they have to go get him out. The interesting thing about this film is that there's no talking. There's literally not a single piece of tangible dialogue. People say they make sounds. They don't actually form sentences. They might be Welsh. I have no idea. But I think that even though the fact that there's no talking and there's no real written, there's no any real writing in this film, they managed to make a lot of character. You very quickly understand what Sean is about. The dog bit, so you understand what he's about. You feel the connection between the animals and their farmer, which is why they're so desperate to get him back. That makes for a lot of great laughs. The villain is surprisingly intimidating. The whole time they're in the city, they're trying to run this guy for the animal containment unit, who is just not letting this go for whatever reason. He's like a Nazi for animals. There's a scene in the movie where there's all the animals he's contained. The lineup of people they have there is funny because there are certain animals they have in containment. They're just what the fuck were you doing that he had to catch you? But yeah, I do think that this is it's an incredibly charming movie. It's funny, it's moving, it's got a lot of heart to it, and again, I admire the craft because, like, you look at like Aardman's other film. This is maybe one of the more complex, despite the fact there's no talking. It's probably one more complexly animated film because like, a lot of their films are animated in, like somewhere remote, like a farm or somewhere, like a town. This is doing a whole city, so they had to animate, like bigger buildings, blocks, all tons of people, like bystanders, all kinds of stuff, and yeah, like they do it all impressively. It's seamless. It goes into a lot of really funny side bits, which I won't give away because there are a lot of like really good jokes in there, and yeah, I really really do enjoy Shaun the Sheep the movie.
Yeah, I told a certain person not to watch YLS tonight because if he would have found out that I said that I didn't really like this movie,
was it Bar?
No, it was Cameron Redshaw. Cameron Redshaw loved this movie, and he knows where I live. So,
Cody, DM me the address.
I think it is fine. It is perfectly fine. There are some funny little things, but overall, Aardman's humor just doesn't line up with me. It just doesn't. Like, this is a lot. Like, I don't like Wallace and Gromit. I'm not big on that. I wasn't really big on Flushed Away. Aardman's humor doesn't really line up for me. And this I thought was fine. I didn't really love it. Timmy the sheep is great, but overall, I'm not a fan. No, Bar, don't. Anyway, everyone else thoughts on Shaun the Sheep the movie?
I love this movie too. I think this is a terrific, and I think it's really funny. It's pretty similar to Babe Pig in the City. I feel like Nazario should appreciate it on some level. But no, I think the humor in this is really well done. And again, like it's so much of it, the story and the comedy is crafted through visual gags. And I think the way that it's structured and the way that one set piece kind of leads into the other is really just so well designed. And the way that the movie flows from one part to another is really seamless. And I love the Shaun the Sheep, the little interstitials they used to air in between other TV shows, like back in like the late 2000s, and I really like those a lot. So seeing this in movie form is really exciting for me. I didn't love this. I didn't like the sequel quite as much. I thought it was okay, but it was kind of a letdown for Armageddon. But I think this is a really, really fun, charming movie that I really like. So I don't know. Bowman's tripping.
Boats be tripping.
See, I don't know, man. I think we all put up with this gimmick that Mark has about putting these weird little thing movies, but I think the joke has gone too far. Wait, it's Chance. Oh, yeah. No,
okay, all right, fair enough.
I actually haven't seen this movie.
Bitch.
It's good.
Yeah. I just talked up Chicken Run like quite a bit. And these like feel real, like these Shaun the Sheep movies feel really up my wheelhouse. I haven't seen them, and I will. They're on the list, and I should correct that soon.
Okay, Mark, we go to your 23.
Okay, my 23 is Lilo and Stitch.
Yikes.
Okay, Nazario, you're 23.
Do we like stop animation or do we like stop animation? My number 23 is Isle of Dogs.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Wes Anderson is a brilliant director. I think we all kind of know this. And he has decided for some reason twice to make animated movies. This is one of them. And it's a great little movie. Like the way he just creates this whole environment on the country's Japan, that they do not for some reason like dogs, and they decide to like evict all the dogs to Trash Island, and the way this affects personally one little kid, the son of the mayor, Atari Kobayashi, with his his bodyguard was the dog, and it breaks his heart. So he decides that he's gonna go against his mayor, because the mayor who's his adoptive uncle, because he wants to save his dog. It's just a Wes Anderson movie with a dog skin, man. Like every single dog in that island, Edward Norton, Jeff Goldblum, Bill Murray, they all have these little gimmicks that are hilarious and jokes that keep repeating all over the length of the movie. While the movie is also an interesting adventure about this kid who just wants to get his dog back. And it features Bryan Cranston as Chief in one of those animated characters that kind of stick with you because he's the one that he's there by choice. He's the one that nobody wanted, nobody's missing him. He was the run to the litter, and he just wants everybody else to, learn how it is to just survive as a dog and not need any human masters. And nobody really buys into it because they are all pampered pets that grew up in a different environment. And it's actually Chief's story, the one that has the most heart to it, because as the movie moves forward and advances the story, he starts to realize the value on the connection between the master and pet, the human and dog. And he learns some truths about himself that he didn't know or understand and ends up in a whole different place. And there's one scene when it is revealed something to him that basically shakes his world. And I cried, man. Like, I love that dog. I love Chief. I'm not really a cat person, so making the cats the bad guys is obviously the clear winner for me in this one. My kids loves cats though, which is weird. Yeah, I love dogs, man. It's brilliant on multiple levels. For kids, my kid saw it as 5-year-old and he loved it. And as an adult, you can see all the subtleties that get interposed in between the layers. And the cast, man, is insane. Appreciate this.
Yeah, I do. I really like Isle of Dogs. I saw it in theaters in 2018, and it was my first Wes Anderson movie in theaters, and I had a really good time with it. I really like the aesthetics of Wes Anderson, of course, but I really thought that the story was heartwarming. Was it anything like spectacular? No, but I thought it was a really nice, cute little movie that wasn't afraid to be a little bit more adult. But yeah, cast obviously great. Overall, I thought it had some really interesting ideas, and it was just a fun little adventure film. 23 though is a bit high. I think that the 30 to 40 range is about the correct spot for this. 23, especially considering what we had lower. But I'm not super upset because this is a fun movie. Everyone else on Isle of Dogs.
I'm gonna go first. I know somebody has this pretty strong feelings about this one. I like it. I don't love it. I think Fantastic Fox is his better animated film. I think that the cast for this film is great. They're all doing great jobs. I especially deal with Bryan Cranston. The five men: Bryan Cranston, Ed Norton, Goldblum, Murray, and Bob Balaban. I think are all fantastic. But yeah, I think that it falls a little short for me, but I think it's good. I don't dislike it, but yeah, it just fell short.
Murray Abraham is brilliant in his short scene.
That he is.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just kind of sick of the Wes Anderson cultural tourism thing that he does. Like, there's no, again, if you want to read a piece about this and the ideas behind it, there's a Vulture piece called I think it's What It's Like to Watch Isle of Dogs as a Japanese speaker. I think that stuff honestly does bother me. I think the movie itself is just okay. I never really got the emotional connection to the characters, really, that I think Nazario seemed to get. And the ending kind of did fall a little flat. Like, I think it looks pretty good. It's like obviously well animated the cast is impressive, but I think some of them aren't really very. I do think that Bryan Cranston's quite good, but I think like it's pretty uneven in terms of some people bringing it and some people not. I don't know. It's just a movie that I don't really have a lot of super positive feelings about. So it's like, it's okay. It's not like terrible, but it's definitely not would not come close to my list.
Wes Anderson is a director that I always think that I really like. And like every time I see one of his movies, like I was like, oh, that's right. I don't really like Wes Anderson that much. Like the only movie of his that I kind of like, just general and I'll rewatch is Grand Budapest Hotel. And this movie's just like, it just like, I think his style just kind of bugs me. Like, even though like it feels like a guy who's trying to be super artistic, like I need to make the frame directly center and look at all the shit. Like, it's just like, okay, guy, like it just, I get it. Like, and then his like humor style, like it just feels like it's just, it's like too deadpan for me. Like, just I don't Like it just doesn't fucking hit for me, man. And even though like the cast is amazing. I thought like this one, like since the cast is great, like it'd be more for me. I'm just like, no, it's fine.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Right at.
I mean, it's okay, I guess. It's not. It's whatever.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, next I believe we are at
Me, my 22. My number 22, little fella, go by the name of Rango. This is a yikes from earlier. I love this movie. I think it's such a great adventure movie, and I think like the action set pieces are kind of one of the things that really holds for me. I think that chase with the bats is like awesome action filmmaking, and like in an animated form is really impressive. I love I'm a big fan of Westerns, and I love all the homages to like both classic Westerns and just the tropes of Westerns throughout this. And I think the way that Gore Verbinski kind of realizes those is really fascinating. I love, again, the characterization of the town, all the stuff with the giant water jug and all this. I mean, the fact that Rango comes in as this foolhardy guy who he makes up his own fairy tale essentially, and he creates his own story and his own legacy, and he tries to live up to that. And that's kind of like the bar that he sets for himself. And I think like you see him having this conflict, and I love that scene with Timothy Oliphant as like the spirit of the West. I think that's such a great Clint Eastwood homage. But I think I think it also is funny in moments, but I do think that the biggest mark for this movie is the action. I mean, there's the chase in the town too that I think is just like, it's just a great action scene. And I think that the way that Verbinski stages all that stuff is really impressive. And I think that the duality of both the trappings of cinema and the way he talks about movie culture, especially in the opening scene, is really great. And I think it's a great meta text about movies in general, but also especially about Westerns. And I think those two are the aspects really make this kind of get a level above some other animated movies like this. So yeah, Rango, one of my favorite animated movies. I think it rules. I think Nazario had it. Yeah,
I had it at 34. Basically, everything you said, it holds up for me. And you also you didn't mention there is also obviously the Hunter S. Thompson connection there with the little thing to the Johnny Depp character in Fear and Loathing. Also, I like the way the movie's shot, like the way he presents the character. Every single character, it's volumetrically bigger than what you usually get in kids' films. Like there are like thick, very detailed, weird-looking creatures from the desert, and he gives you clean shots of everyone, and it looks pristine. Like the way everything moves, it feels almost real, like not quite real because they are very animated, but it looks very close to it. And the way the story works with the whole trope of the water. Like he controls the water, controls the money and stuff, and the thing with the city, it's basically Las Vegas. It's kind of brilliant, and it's one of those things. Like again, I watched it with my kid last week again, and he loves it because of the animation style, the exciting adventure part. But you get all the subtext of the extra stuff as an adult, and I think Gore Verbinski is very underrated as a director. He has a way to make things work that shouldn't really work. He's just kind of good. And yeah, Rango's great. The joke about "we ride," it's one of my favorite things ever. I don't know if it's once or twice in the theatrical cut, but I saw the director's cut and it's twice, and both times I laughed my ass off. We ride.
I did not know Rango had a director's cut. Okay.
I wish I could watch this movie with other people. What?
Ex-girlfriend again?
Damn.
That's not a joke. But no, I wish I could watch the movie with what everyone else sees in it, because I don't get it. I think this movie is absolutely fine. On rewatch, I think I was too hard on the movie. I think it is well made. I just really don't get into it. And I don't know why. I see the movie symbolism in there, but like, yes, I see it, but I don't really think it's saying anything all that interesting. And it doesn't even then, I just don't care about these characters, because I think the big problem is I just don't really care about Rango. I don't really care about Beans. I don't really care about the town. That's kind of my big problem. Don't really connect the characters. This was a movie that a lot of people loved. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm going to get hate for that one, but I don't care. I just can't get into this one. Chance, Mark?
This is like in a similar boat to Chicken Run, which could have been a strong contender if I'd seen it more recently. It's been a while since I've seen Rango. It's weird. I've been having like an itch to rewatch it just because I don't know why, how I stumbled across a video of like them making the movie, and like a really impressive thing about that nobody really talked about the fact that like they built sets to have like the actors like walk around and like give their lines, and like they animated like a lot of what they were saying when they were like doing those walkthroughs, and which is like a really interesting way to like do a lot of these sequences. Like a lot of like most anime movies don't do that, but it did like add a lot of a lot of dimension. What?
That seems like a big waste of time.
In reality, it is, but it gave a lot of dimension to the performance. I think Johnny Depp, from what I remember, was incredible in this film. But
okay,
this is one I haven't seen recently enough. I remember liking it a lot. I haven't seen it recently.
I think for live action movies, like The Godfather, we should just have like model figures of the.
That's not the same thing. That doesn't even make sense.
That's not the same thing.
Literally, what are you talking about?
No, relax.
They did that in Jurassic Park.
Okay. Weird tangents here.
Anyway.
I'm kind of a chance in this one. It's just been a really long time. I've seen it once. I really liked it the first time I saw it. It also been a bit since it came out because and that third Pirates movie, man, it really soured me on Gore Verbinski for a while. And when I finally saw it, I'm like, man, this movie's pretty good. Like, yeah, this guy's got a future after all.
Everyone needs to relax. Third Pirates is fine. It's not as good as Kaleb Koho says. It's not as bad as everyone else says.
It sucks. But Rango is much better. But if I had seen it within like the last year, if I had seen it like last year, it would have been like 37 or something.
Okay, so now I believe that was Paul's 22, so I believe we are changed.
My number 22 is the action realized Paranorman. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. So yeah, Paranorman is one of the like films I do like more than Kubo and the Two Strings. I think that what works about this film is, well, I mean, I love the aesthetic of like a Halloween animated movie. I think that again, the stop motion of this film is incredible. But I think what took me in about this one is the writing. Something I didn't really comprehend when I first saw it. I first saw it in 2012 when it came out. But I watched it this past Halloween, and what took him by surprise was like how deep the story got and how much more complex it gets as the narrative goes on. If you haven't seen it, it's basically about a kid who can see ghosts and basically use that. And has to use that because there's a whole curse about to like wipe out this town that he's got to try and figure out. But like that's just like the premise to hook you in. As the movie goes on, it gets a lot more complex. And what I like about it is the fact that it kind of harkens back to the idea of what makes a monster. There's something that happens like towards the end of this film that really makes you reevaluate how you feel about like the ghost that you were taught to fear in the movie to begin with, and it makes you and kind of has an idea that things like the monster at the end of the story. And was at one point just a person, and be brought into all the emotions and all like the trauma and all the strife attached to it. Becomes a lot about acceptance versus vengeance. I think Norman's a great protagonist. It has a lot of light moments, but I think that it's really heavy. I really like the theme it touches on. It's one that a lot of anime movies don't do, and it's very rare that I see an anime movie be this nuanced with essentially a ghost story. So yeah, I think this film is fantastic.
Yeah, Nazar, you had this, correct?
At 35, yes. I agree with everything he said. I was sold the movie, and I got another one. I was sold a movie for kids about scary zombies. And honestly, the first time I watched it, and I realized, like, there's only 7 zombies, and it's very limited, and it's not like they can bite other people and infect them. I was like, okay, this is not what I expect to be. But honestly, I went back and watched it again, and it ended up being better than when I originally expected. Because yes, there are way better zombie movies, but this is not really a zombie movie. This is a movie about people who are cursed by the decisions that they took based on bigotry and hate. And teaching that to kids through the way they do in this film is brilliant. Like the way it turns in the end when they finally reveal why these zombies are coming back, who they are, who they represent, and what the big bad of the movie is. It's heartbreaking, especially when they do the flashback scenes explaining how it came to this place and how ignorance and malice can just overpower the human heart and human compassion in a way that turns people into monsters. This movie is goddamn brilliant.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with both of you. I think that Paranorman is so excellent. I love the kind of subtle references to different like 80s cheesy horror movies. Like I think the first hour of this movie is just a very fun kind of movie. But then the way the last half hour shifts into something very different, I think is so smart and so important of like just, hey, let's like actually look at this logically. I think is so brilliant. This is just one of the most like smart, subversive animated movies I've ever seen. This is one that is absolutely going to become like a consistent Halloween watch for me because I haven't seen it till this year. It's fun, spooky aesthetic with really nuanced characters that I really like. In particular, Dave Franco's character. But no, not Dave Franco. Casey Affleck. Affleck.
They're two very different people.
John Goodman is very underrated too in this movie.
That is.
John Goodman is a goddamn treasure.
Yeah. But overall, really like this one. Everyone else on Paranorman, Mark and Paul, you both didn't have it.
Yeah,
Why?
honestly, I saw this in theaters and I remember like nothing about it. And it's something I was sort of thinking about rewatching for this list, just didn't end up rewatching it. But I couldn't tell you like almost anything about it. So I really don't think I would have anything interesting to say at all. I just like don't really remember it. So I should rewatch it. The way that Nazar describes it makes me want to watch it like tonight.
Kind of the same because I honestly blind bought this movie and I own it, and I honestly hadn't seen it since whenever I watched it, and I like my nephew like just kind of put it on for some reason, and I just kind of remember watching bits in the background like shit, this is not the movie that I remember watching. Like it just like it still had been so long, so I couldn't put it on for like that reason, just because like I don't really remember it that well either. But yeah, I mean it's a really weird movie that just kind of hits you out of nowhere.
Yeah. So now we will go to March 22.
Okay, let's see if this one pops up. My 22 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes, for right now.
It's for later. I'm later.
Okay.
Later. Yeah.
I had a feeling.
It's my 22 too, so.
Okay.
Correct, Paul, for his 21.
My 21 is the movie I watch every Christmas. My number 21 is Tokyo Godfathers. This is another movie from Satoshi Kon, and it's about these three homeless people who in Tokyo find this baby and go on a quest to try and return the baby to its original family. And this is truly, I think, one of the most empathetic animated movies ever made. I think the way that it treats its main characters and doesn't demean them or try to make you feel sympathy for them in any kind of cheap way, but just shows the way that they live their lives. I think this is like one of the only movies I've ever seen that has trans representation, which is, I think, is a really powerful and an important thing to have, especially in 2003. But I think, they did a wonderful restoration of this for the Blu-ray release, and it looks amazing, especially I think now once they cleaned everything up. But this is a wonderful, delightful movie that I just think is so powerfully about people connecting to each other in unlikely families, and families being the people that you spend your life and time with, not necessarily the people who you were born to or whatever. And that stuff is really powerful. I think the way that certain people treat their families differently than others is really powerful. And then the way that some people, are willing to help out others that they don't know for no real reason. And it's just this journey of these three people kind of finding each other and then coming apart. But then there are still these ties that bring them back together. And it's just, again, it's a simple way to do that, right? It's this baby and they're going on this trek to bring it back. And the lengths that they go to try and get this baby back to its original family, it's a baby they don't really have any reason to care about. is the reason this is so powerful. I think it's set on Christmas Eve. It's like a great visual setting. Tokyo and Christmas is not something that you see a lot, I think, in movies, but it looks gorgeous. And I think every kind of frame and moment of this movie really touches me in a special way. Like I said, I watch it every Christmas. I think it's a wonderful holiday movie and a great animated movie overall.
Yeah, I watched this on your recommendation back in December, and I liked it, didn't love it. I want to give it another shot. I didn't have time to give another shot for this, but overall, I remember liking it. I really liked like the last 20 minutes of the film, because I think that's where you really I love movies where like they're about finding families in groups that are not your family, essentially, and those family dynamics and not non-family situations. I really like those. Overall, the film just story-wise went in a couple different tangents that didn't quite work for me, but I still think it's excellently made. So yeah, Jack, come on. Has anyone else seen Tokyo Godfathers?
That's Zach, by the way. Just I don't know if you know that. That's
Zach.
Zach Ford. That's Zach Ford. Yeah, that's what he used to be called when he was in school. Kid used to call him that. But yeah, anyway.
I've seen it, and I agree. I actually think it's a little thing of tone for me. I also haven't seen it in like 15 years, so maybe I don't know if I'm remembering right. But there's a very separate tone at the beginning when they're trying to just like the extra lengths that Paul mentioned about trying to get this baby where it's supposed to be, versus the last part of the movie where they reveal how that baby got to them, and basically how they managed to, find out who their parents are. And there's an extra reveal involving the police about one of the characters that I actually find very touching. So I feel like the movie overall is actually solid. It's very good. It's just something that never jumped as a favorite on my list for some reason.
Yeah, this is one that I've seen twice. I actually did catch this first screening because Fathom was doing a run for the Blu-ray release. So I did get to catch a screening in theaters. And yeah, it was really good. It's actually very close to making my list. It was on like the outer, like between like the 10 and 15 range. It was very close. I do think this is actually a really good movie. I agree with everything Paul said. It's just one that it barely missed out.
When Paul said he watched this every Christmas for a split second, I thought we were going to see Zemeckis' Christmas Carol on the list, but
Dark Magic, the movie.
Yeah. Not even his worst Christmas movie. Like maybe not.
but no, like I knew the shit was going to have him when I saw Paul was here. Like, he's going to name a bunch of movies I haven't seen. This is one of them.
Movies for you to discover in the future.
I'm always on the lookout for good Christmas movies. I'll say.
Okay, Chance, you're 21.
I might be about to burn all the goodwill I got from Paranormal on the last pick, but that's fine because it's just for me. Number 21's Dumbo, which I know is weird coming from me. Like only Negro on this panel he picks Dumbo, but it's fine. Let me. I'll get to that. I will get to that. Just hold on.
We're playing with Tonium, and I don't like it.
It's okay. I'm allowed. And if you want me to sign all your release,
no worries.
You want me to sign all your release forms? I'll do it. It's fine. But for me, like this is a movie that means a lot to me specifically, just because growing up, I was always really close to my mother. For a lot of years, it was the two before my sister was born, and I really look at this movie and then I attach a lot of like our relationship into the relationship between Dumbo and his mother. I think that the scene where she's locked up and he's like right outside her pen, I think is like it's fantastic. And I don't cry in movies a lot, but that's one that like nearly gets me. I don't cry in movies ever actually. That's one that nearly gets me there. The Baby Mine song I think is beautiful. It's one that my mom sang to me when I was younger every night to try and get me to sleep, but I wouldn't go because I'm just too goddamn stubborn. I think Dumbo is protagonist, despite the fact that he never talks. I think you discern a lot of character from him. I like the relationship between him and Timothy Q. Mouse. The scene where they get drunk is probably one of the trippier anime movie scenes I've ever seen. Like if you like Submarine, a microcosm, it's this scene right here. Like it's horrifying. It felt like Disney found somebody who just like took acid. It's like, hey, look, we're gonna give you this acid. Whatever you see, draw it out. We're gonna animate it. it. We got this, bro. We can do this. I know this is one that's come under a lot of scrutiny in the recent years because of one element that is the black ass crows, which I am not going to sit here and defend as an African American. But it's something that I don't know what I can't help but it's just so like shocking. It's so, like it's such shocking disbelief I can't help but laugh at it. Like I'm not offended by movies like it's a cartoon from the 40s. Like it's kind of to be expected from that era. But the thing that like turns me off from the movie entirely, and yeah. A lot of what tells me is like the music I think is great. I think the animation for the time is really good. And yeah, a lot of it for me is just a relationship between Dumbo and his mom. It's a movie that means a lot to me personally. I don't begrudge anyone else for not having it. This is just a pick honestly for me.
Okay. I'm not even gonna address the elephant in the room, even though I will address the elephant in the room.
We're not going to address the little black, the 4 little black niggas pop in the movie. Like later.
The movie as a whole, I think it's just boring. That's the biggest problem with this movie is there are 2 good scenes. If you want to watch this movie, don't watch this movie. Watch Baby Mine and watch Pink Elephants on Parade and you're good. You're good. Timothy Q. Mouse is discount Jiminy Cricket. That is all he is. He is just discount Jiminy Cricket. He has the same function. They basically feel like the same character, to be honest. Like, he feels like discount Jiminy Cricket. I think this movie, I do not care about the stuff with the circus. I do not care about basically most of what happens in this movie with the beginning. That little red-haired kid is punchable. But overall,
I mean, he's kind of supposed to be. So
yeah, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing against the movie, but this movie is just boring and forgettable. Not a whole lot of happens, and yeah, it feels like this film could have been a 10-minute short. To be honest, like I feel like, or you could have packaged this, like put this where like Bongo was in Fun and Fancy Free. And honestly, works about the same, to be honest. This movie's it's bad. I'm sorry, it's bad.
It's fun. Again, it's one that I know.
You know what?
The vast minority on.
Tim Burton one is better. Tim Burton one is better.
Okay.
Hey, but it's better. It's Tim Burton one's not great, but it is slightly better. Everyone else on Dumbo.
Tim Burton basically did Dumbo and Dumbo 1.5 together as one movie. And
did actually.
It worked. I don't hate Dumbo. I actually find that for little kids with a more simple structure, it works well. The pink elephant scene, everybody remembers it, but it's not that great. It's visually appealing for like the first 2 minutes, but it goes on for too long. But yeah, the message on the background with the mother and how she fights for him over everything else, and how he has to see her locked up like the way she is, and he cries outside her locked thing. It's kind of beautiful. The ending when they finally get reunited it's sweet, but I think it's undersold. Like they needed a bigger emotional payoff for the gut punch that they give you first. And I love Casey Jr. It's a fun little train. The crows are the crows. I was a kid and I didn't know about racism. I thought they were funny. Now, not so much. I mean, it's not a deal breaker.
Mark?
Yeah, this actually, I think, is one of the first movies I cried at when I was a kid because I just really was connected to the Dumbo mother stuff. I didn't love this as much the most recent time I watched it, but I do think it's still pretty good. I do think thinking this movie is like super boring and then thinking other movies are like hilarious and great says something about attention span that I think is interesting. But I do think that this movie is like, I think it's beautifully animated, and I think some of the scenes are really cool, especially the scene where they're all hallucinating, I think is really great. And I love scenes that are kind of weird like that in these classic Disney movies. But I think ultimately the movie just does feel a bit slight. And doesn't have the full package, I think, that I think I want from it. But I do think like that the middle part especially is really strong. The part with Dumbo and Dumbo's mother is really good. But it's a movie that's good, but just is not like a personal favorite for me.
I think I'll probably be on the other side of the attention span argument Paul's talking about. I got with like a lot of pre-80s Disney, like just like kind of the more I kind of dive back into it, just a lot of it's just kind of boring to me. It just doesn't really stick with me. Like Dumbo's kind of on that list. Like there's only like a handful like of in that era that like that I really go back to and that kind of get me, and like Dumbo's not really one of them.
So someone put Zach Ford's comment on there. It's an amazing comment on the Twitch.
He describes it like
big ears, sad mom.
Big ears, sad mom.
Hallucinogenic.
Big ears, sad moms die young. Yeah, that's the mod.
Next, we will go to Mark. You're 21.
All right. I think I might be able to actually talk about a movie this week. My 21 is Porco Rosso.
Just kidding. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
All right, here we go. Yeah, as I said, last week, I gravitated to the weird ass Ghibli films, man, and freaking Porco Rosso is one. Man, something about Michael Keaton voicing a pig that just, man, it really got to me. And I think what I kind of like, because in all seriousness, like the actual character of Porco Rosso, I just find super goddamn interesting. He is a character who is really scarred by the things he saw and the things he did in the war, and he's also a guy that really hasn't forgiven himself for it. He doesn't really because that scene where like where he's telling the girl mechanic, can't remember her name, pretty much about like it's boy. I mean, he's telling her about kind of a story he had in the war, and it's really just a really kind of heart-wrenching scene about him going through survivor's guilt, but him not thinking like he should have lived, that there were better people there, and him wishing that it was him, and like to see like this like kind of weird, almost like childlike sentiment of him still being a pig, of that way of kind of his way of showing him carrying this guilt around, like is just so neat. Like it's just like a really creative way to show that, and I kind of love, and also like kind of one of my favorite thing about Hayao Miyazaki's direction is kind of how in a lot of his movies he can tell like some of the kind of what seem like light movies, and he'll kind of put like this kind of weird, like kind of gritty and kind of sad tone in them, but still kind of be light and fun, because like it still feels like a light and fun movie, even though he's being chased by the Italian secret police, and like we know some bad shit's gonna happen if the Italian secret police catches him. Like I don't know, like the movie I think is fun as hell. It's really wrestling with some really dark themes, and it doesn't really offer up a lot of easy answers. It doesn't even give you a good idea if he's kind of dealt with these feelings. We hope that he has, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe he just kind of stays like this cynical guy forever.
Yeah. I did not see, I had not seen Porco Rosso until today. And I had been looking forward to it. And I really had a great time with Porco Rosso. I thought Porco Rosso was excellent. I think it comes down to that character. That character is really fascinating and really charming isn't the correct word, but really endearing. You do care so much about him, and he's very funny, even though he is a bit of a curmudgeon. And I think that's Keaton. Keaton is just able to navigate that so well with the voice performance. But this movie does get a little heavy, which is weird for a movie where your main character is a talking pig man. Yeah. But it gets really heavy at points, and then it alleviates it. But I think this film really kind of navigates that line. A lot of the dog fights are great, particularly the ending one that is the competition. That one's great. That kind of turns into not being a dog fight in a really clever twist. Overall, I think the film was quite good. I love Ghibli, so of the Ghiblis I've seen, it's not like top tier, but it's real solid. So yeah, everyone else on Porco Rosso?
I haven't seen. This is one of the Jibbos I haven't seen, so can't talk about it.
You're muted.
Oh, sorry, you're muted.
I actually have seen Porco Rosso, but Ghibli has so many good movies, and especially Hayao Miyazaki, that if I just started putting everything that was good on this list, probably would not leave space for other stuff. So I had to make choices. Choices were made.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather be a pig than a fascist too, Porco Rosso. I relate. No, I mean, I think that when I was building this list, I might have tried a little too hard to vary it. You know, I think in reality, this might be one of my top 40 animated movies, honestly. I do love this movie a lot. Again, it does have a lot of darkness. Like, this is a movie about like how going off to war can cause people to like feel detached from society. And you see the self-hatred with Porco Rosso, where it's like this woman who's clearly interested in him, but he's not willing to acknowledge the fact that she's interested and cares about him, right? Like, he totally ignores it. He pretends like, she's just doing this, out of courtesy or whatever. And the moment where she compliments him and you see his kind of face change, I think is really interesting near the end of the movie. That's such a fascinating moment of like, that's what his inner self kind of reflects onto his outer self. But I think this is a great, terrific movie that's, again, about like kind of the horrors of war and how people deal with it, but also like how sometimes people can like come through difficult circumstances and just be a solid, good person and still help other people and still not become evil in and of themselves. And I think that stuff is really beautiful. I love how kind of quiet this movie is. It's not overpowering you with score and lots of dialogue, and it doesn't have to be doing something all the time. It kind of just lets you sit in a lot of the moods, and with him flying. I love his hangout inside of that big cave where he's just on the beach. And he's got this kind of tent. He's got this lawn chair set up and all that stuff. That stuff is terrific. And this movie rules. Like, what else can I say? It's not one of my like favorite Miyazaki's, of course, but it's one that it's one of the first ones I saw. And it's one that I love a lot.
Nazario, Nazario did talk about it. Okay, yes. So we are now on. Chance hadn't seen it. That's right. So now we are on Nazario's 21. Nazario, take us home.
My number 21 is 2010's How to Train Your Dragon.
It was my 36.
That was my 32.
Okay, I think it ends here.
It ends here. Okay. How to Train Your Dragon. It's the best trilogy of films that DreamWorks Animation has made. Like in the movies that they have made series from, this is the best series.
Everyone has the same reaction. They're like, maybe.
It's not even close. But I'm always been a guy who likes the beginnings more than the endings of stories. And most of the times, the ending always kind of disappoint a bit. The original How to Train Your Dragon had so much promise. It created the scene. It laid out the world in a way that you could easily get into it. By using the training structure for all the Vikings that were learning about the dragons, you got to learn about the dragons too. So when the sequels came and you get more of the payoff of the action part, where you don't need to explain why this dragon behaves this way, why this two-headed dragon can do this thing that the other one can, you get all that from the original. And the relationship itself between Hiccup and Toothless, it's done in such a way that it basically earns all the goodwill that you carry on through the whole franchise. I love Toothless' design. He's basically Stitch with a dragon. It's cuddly, yet menacing when it has to be. Jay Baruchel is fine as Hiccup. I kind of like him better as it went along. I didn't like it at the very, very beginning, but I know where it comes from. And the way he connects with Toothless, and the thing I think sometimes gets not that mentioned on it or like not given a priority is the fact that he was the one who injured Toothless. He made him disabled. He basically took away the freedom he had, and he tried to give it back, but it only could be done halfway, at least in this movie, where he needed him to work together so he could fly again. And the way it reflects kind of as a mirror by the ending of the movie when Hiccup himself becomes disabled after the fight with the red nightmare. I forgot the name of the big one.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's it's this thing like, yes, we are not whole yet, together we make whole. The way they establish the other characters, and everybody's really funny. I actually enjoyed Gerald Butler a lot in this movie, as Stoic, because I honestly generally don't like Gerald Butler, but I really like the way he chose to perform in this movie, because you can understand he comes from a place of fear where he already lost the woman he loved to these dragon fights, and he just doesn't want to lose his kid. It's a lovely film. I think sadly it's the top of the series for me. People argue the sequel is better. I don't agree, but it's a lovely film.
Chance, you had this at 32.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Azaria said, except for maybe this being the best Dreamworks trilogy. It's debatable, but I think this film stands as the best of the How to Train Your Dragon films. I think that because I think it has the underdog factor. You have like Hiccup, who is just like totally inept at doing anything. Like his boy can't do anything, right? But then you bring in this dragon who he handicaps. He's at the Tanya Hardings him, except he helps him get better. Yeah, I think that the relationship between the two of them, I think, is like the boy and his dog bond. That it's just so strong by the fact that like so much of it unspoken, so much done through looks. Toodles, I think, is great. I think that the progression of the character is better in this film than I like it better in this film than in the other two sequels. And I also think that someone who I really love as a friend is Craig Ferguson. Anytime he pops up in one of these movies, I think he's always like bring a lot of heart, bring a lot of laughs. So yeah, this is one. I also think the flying scenes are done spectacularly in this movie, and the series on the whole. But yeah, I think for the complete package, I think that I always go to the first How to Train Your
Dragon. Mark, you have this at 36.
Yeah, I mean, the way the way Chance talks about it maybe not being the best trilogy. Are you gonna surprise us with 3 Madagascar films? Coming up on the list. Like, is that shit gonna happen?
Stay tuned.
but no, yeah, this is going back and rewatching them. This one became my favorite of the 3. To be completely honest, I still really like 2 and 3 a lot. I think they're pretty good sequels, and they round out a really good trilogy. I think this first one, like, because I think everybody kind of touched on it a lot. The world building that's done in this one is freaking awesome, and it really does so much heavy lifting for those second and third movies, and they are just kind of let to be kind of like these fun rides. Where the first one, I think, does so much work as far as the world, as far as the characters. It really builds everybody up really nicely. It kind of lets us know like who everybody is and kind of the difficulties that they would have like along in the series. The score is amazing. I was kind of lukewarm on it the first time I saw it, and like, man, it is maybe one of the best of the decade. It is so freaking good. And yeah, and I like how, like, especially the end, freaking guy loses his leg. Mm-hmm. And it kind of has like this it kind of doesn't have like the super rosy ending. I kind of like that about it, and it's a real precursor for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I'm not going to say too much because you guys basically covered everything. I think the film it has a lot of the similar beats of a lot of animated movies, but it does them in a very engaging way. I really like these characters. I think the dynamic between Hiccup and Toothless really works. I think that's absolutely what makes the film work. And the dynamic between Hiccup and Stoic. I do prefer the later film, or I prefer 2 to this one, but I do really like this one. Paul, you're the one person who did not have How to Train Your Dragon on your list. Why did you want to make Nico Rigoli cry? I mean, I know why.
How many reasons do you need? No, I think for me, as is the case with almost every trilogy, I like the second entrant the most. I think that's where you get the most leeway to do what you want. You don't have to worry about setting stuff up or kind of concluding things, which is what I think allows them the freedom to do more interesting things. So I do prefer the second movie, but I think there's a lot of stuff about the first movie to really love. I think, again, like Mark kind of mentioned it, but the John Powell score is amazing in this. I think it's one of the great animated scores really ever. and that's like kind of the shining star for me. I don't love the side characters in this, which kind of makes like loses it a little bit for me. I don't love the like Christopher Mintz-Plasse and like TJ Miller and Kristen Wiig stuff. That stuff I don't really care for too much. But I just think the relationships are stronger for me in the second movie, especially the stuff it introduces there. I like this movie. It just has never really been like one that stuck for me as a favorite. It's just like a super solid movie. Nothing that's ever like been like super elevated.
And with that, that does conclude the list. So now it's time to give out grades. In last place for 2 weeks in a row. And Ellison, you were doing all right. You were doing all right. Like,
shut the fuck up, bro. Move
on. Like then Dumbo happened, and there's nothing you can really do from there. You had Grave of the Fireflies, you had Shrek 2, but Dumbo, you thought yourself.
I don't know if anyone's ever said that sentence. Well, you had Grave of the Fireflies and Shrek 2. Those would go together.
Yeah, in third place, dropping quite a bit because he won last week with C+, Paulo Yama.
Maybe you watch the movies, motherfucker.
I watched quite a few of them. Rango is really what hurt you. Rango is what hurt you there. I was in love with Tokyo Godfathers, but he has some good ones. Boy and the Beast was real good. Well, Children's impossible to find. Shut up. Mitchell's versus the Machines is great, but yeah, Tokyo Godfathers and Rango in particular, was really what hurt you. But overall, not possible. Then second place. Only really having one misstep, I would say, is Mark Menchaca. Mark Menchaca had a few odd things in there, but overall, big improvement from last week. Only real problem, Brave Little Toaster. Porco Rosso was excellent, but having it over Lilo and Stitch being at 23, you better have some good movies in the 20 range and beyond. But overall, solid list. And winning tonight, Mr. VHS Nazario. I just don't think he had any bad movies on his list. I like everything I saw. Only little tiny thing was Waking Life.
Really, PTSD from your ex-girlfriend beat all of us?
I hadn't seen the movie. It's the Mark Menchaca defense. Give me a movie I won't watch that's bad. But yeah, I think that's the list of one. Spider-Man, How to Train Your Dragon, just excellent. So that does conclude our show tonight. So thank you to Paul, thank you to Chance, thank you to Mark, thank you to Nazario. Tune in next week to see if things change or if things stay the same.
My list is gonna get weird next week. Let's go.
It is. So thank you to everyone. I'm Kaleb Boatman. This sucks.
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart.
You're not going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Now what will it be? Death or exile?
You're hopeless. You're a hopeless mental case.
You better lawyer up, asshole. Because I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything.
Normally, I would say Auf Wiedersehen. But since what Auf Wiedersehen actually means is till I see you again, and since I never wish to see you again, to you, sir, I say goodbye.